Well, I'm joined now by the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp. Morning. Your former Defence Secretary, Ben Wallace, said that the government had been caught with its pants down in Iran because it had cut back on defence spending. But warships don't get magicked out of nowhere suddenly. The cuts happened on your watch. You, the Tories, sold the pants and the belt and the braces long before Labour turned up. So shouldn't Wallace have been aiming his fire at your predecessors?
Good morning, Trevor. Well, look, I think the fact is we do have warships that are capable of defending Cyprus and defending Gulf states. Ships like HMS Dragon and the aircraft carrier HMS Prince of Wales, equipped with advanced F-35Bs, which the last Conservative government purchased and commissioned. The problem is, those ships, as we speak, are nowhere near Cyprus. They're nowhere near the Gulf. They're tied up at the docks in Portsmouth because Keir Starmer and the Labour government showed no foresight whatsoever. And even though they knew 3 or 4 weeks ago that America planned this action against Iran, they did not move those ships into the region. That is a dereliction of duty, frankly, and it's left Cyprus undefended. And it's meant that we, the UK, have made essentially a very limited or no contribution towards defending those Gulf states, which undermines our credibility in the region. They could have moved those ships 3 weeks ago, but they didn't.
I don't normally hurl 14 years at you, but come on, look, you guys were in for 14 years, which is a sort of period where you prepare for this kind of thing. And the truth of the matter is that, as I talked to the Foreign Secretary about it this morning, that the real problem here is that we just don't have enough assets. 2 weeks ago, you would have been saying to me, we need to have ships in the high north because the Russians are coming across the Arctic. But today, you also want them in the Mediterranean and in the Gulf. You can't have both because over 14 years, you reduced the stock of military assets so dramatically, we have to make a choice.
Well, hang on, these ships are currently not in the high north. They're not in the Gulf. They're in Portsmouth. And Keir Starmer,
they were getting prepared for a mission.
And Keir Starmer could have made a decision about 3 weeks ago when he became aware that America was planning this action. Keir Starmer could have decided to move those ships to the Mediterranean and the Gulf, but he didn't do that. And that is a dereliction of duty. Now, we do need to increase our defence expenditure. That is certainly true. And we Conservatives have said we need to get to 3% of GDP extremely quickly. Labour don't have a timetable for that. Let me finish the point. We've also said that we should immediately reinstate the two-child benefit cap, which would save £3.5 billion, and spend that money on our armed forces. Just last week in Parliament, Labour voted to get rid of that benefit cap, pay people with 3, 4, 5, 10 children unlimited amounts of money. We should not be spending money on that. We should be spending the £3.5 billion on our armed services. And that is a different choice that we would make.
You could do your party a service by simply saying right now, sorry, we didn't do all this when we had the chance.
Well, look, in government, we did equip the aircraft carriers with the F-35Bs. We did renew...
You didn't do the things that you're saying need to get done now.
Well, look, the world, I think, is arguably a lot more dangerous now than it was even 5 or 10 years ago.
You could have raised it to 3% 10 years ago.
Yeah, but look, in the last 10 years... and the world, or 15 years, the world has got considerably more dangerous. You've got the Russian invasion of Ukraine. You've got China being a lot more assertive and looking over at Taiwan. You've got the situation in the Middle East now. The world is more dangerous now than it was before. We did invest in the aircraft carriers and in the F-35s, for example. We also renewed our nuclear deterrent in government.
Right.
But we need to do more. We need to do more.
All right. But just quickly on Iran, your leader says that you should take more assertive action. Does more assertive action mean that RAF planes should fly sorties, join bombing raids on Iran?
Yes, it does, because Iranian military installations are being used to launch missiles at British targets and at targets in other countries around the Gulf, like the UAE and Oman and others. And we should be actively seeking to destroy the military installations on Iranian soil that are launching those missiles. And it's a dereliction of duty again. It's because Keir Starmer's so weak that he won't authorise that kind of action.
This week I talked to the Home Secretary about a plan to reduce immigration. I heard your leader say you'd go further. How would you go further than throwing children in the back of vans and removing indefinite leave to remain from lots of people and so on? What would you do that is more draconian?
Well, let's start with illegal immigration across the Channel. We would go a lot further than the Labour government, and we would say we would come out of the ECHR, we'd come out of the Modern Slavery Treaty, and that would enable us to deport anyone crossing the Channel illegally within a week, either back to their country.
How would that stop them coming across the Channel?
Let me just explain.
They went back. This government sent some of them back, and they turned up.
Well, not deport them to France. Deport them back to their country of origin, if that's possible, or to a safe third country like Rwanda, if not. Now, if you're an illegal immigrant in France, and you know if you cross the Channel, you're going to wind up back in your country of origin or somewhere like Rwanda, you are frankly not going to bother attempting the crossing in the first place. Australia did something similar, and that worked. And Australia did something.
You say that, but there's absolutely no evidence that that's true. In fact, the numbers have risen. As much as you have said this, as much as this government has said this, where is the evidence that anybody sitting in Calais, but wanting to get on a boat, is hearing Chris Philp saying, "Oh, if you turn up, we're going to send you back," and believes it?
If we did it in practice, right, then within 2 or 3 months, people would simply stop crossing. And I'm not making that up because Australia did exactly what I'm describing. I spoke to the former Australian Prime Minister, who said that in September 2013, they started doing what I'm describing. They took people coming to Australia by boat.
They put them on an island.
And within about 3 months, the crossings stopped completely.
They put them on an island in the middle of the Pacific, which we can't do. But anyway.
But we can return people to their country of origin or to a safe third country like Rwanda. And within a few months of that happening in practice, not just me saying it, but it happening in practice, people would stop attempting the crossing. And by the way, coming out of the ECHR would also allow us to deport all foreign criminals, not just some, and it would enable us to deport people with no right to be here. All of that is a lot tougher than what Shabana Mahmood said, because she won't come out of the ECHR, and that means the truth is the legal system means she therefore can't deport foreign criminals, and she can't deport all illegal immigrants.
Chris Philp, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.